What happens when a boy who looks weak is left completely alone inside a forest of death? And what happens when standing in front of him are not just demons, but his own fears as well? This is the story of Demon Slayer Episode 3, the episode where Tanjiro's life truly begins to change. Until now, Tanjiro had already lost his family. His sister Nezuko had turned into a demon, and all he had left was one promise: he had to save her no matter what. But to save someone else, first you have to become stronger yourself. And that is exactly what Tanjiro is about to learn. Tanjiro has now arrived at Mount Sagiri with Sakonji Urokodaki. From the outside, this mountain looks calm and silent, but hidden inside it are painful training sessions, deadly tests, and the path that turns an ordinary human into a demon slayer. Urokodaki looks at Tanjiro and immediately understands something. This boy has fire in his heart, but his body is still weak. His willpower is strong, but demons are not killed by willpower alone. For that, he needs speed, focus, control, and a breathing style powerful enough to turn his entire body into a weapon. But Urokodaki does not hand him a sword right away. First, he wants to break Tanjiro's courage, so he can rebuild him into something much stronger. That is why he leaves Tanjiro alone on top of the mountain in the middle of the night. A dark forest all around, freezing wind, and eerie silence, and only one path leading downward. Urokodaki says, "If you make it to my house alive before sunrise, only then will I train you." And after saying that, he disappears. At first, Tanjiro thinks, all I have to do is climb down. But the moment he takes his first step, he realizes this is no ordinary mountain. There are traps everywhere. Heavy logs suddenly come crashing down from trees. The ground collapses beneath his feet. Sharp wooden spikes appear without warning. Tanjiro escapes one trap, only to get caught in another. His body starts getting cut and bruised everywhere. His hands are scraped open, his clothes are torn, his breathing becomes heavier and heavier. But he knows one thing. If he gives up here, Nezuko's future ends here too. That is when Tanjiro uses a very special ability inside him, his sense of smell. He smells the air, smells the soil, and slowly begins to realize that every trap leaves behind a different scent before it activates. The smell of wood, the smell of iron, the smell of freshly moved dirt. Little by little, Tanjiro starts identifying those scents and begins avoiding the traps as he makes his way down. After fighting through an entire night of pain, freezing cold, blood, and fear, Tanjiro finally reaches Urokodaki's house before sunrise. His body is exhausted, but there is no defeat in his eyes. For the first time, Urokodaki truly studies him. He understands that this boy is not just stubborn, he is capable of learning. And now, the real training begins. Every single day, Tanjiro is given a new test. Sometimes, he has to run across steep mountains for hours. Sometimes, he has to carry massive stones. Sometimes, he must endure non-stop strikes from a wooden sword. Sometimes, he has to maintain balance while falling and moving at high speed. Urokodaki pushes him without mercy. Again and again, Tanjiro falls to the ground. Again and again, his body begins to give up. But Urokodaki never lets him rest, because he wants this boy to make pain his daily companion. Days turn into weeks. Weeks slowly turn into months. Tanjiro's body starts becoming stronger than before. His steps become faster. His senses become sharper. But even then, he still has not reached the level he needs. Urokodaki knows physical strength alone is not enough. So he begins teaching him something far more important: total concentration breathing. A breathing technique where every single breath fills the body with energy. Breathing correctly controls the heartbeat, gives maximum strength to the muscles, and keeps the mind calm. At first, Tanjiro cannot understand it. He keeps losing rhythm. Sometimes, he breathes too fast. Sometimes panic takes over him. Sometimes, his body movements lose balance. But slowly, after endless practice, he starts understanding that every movement of his body is connected to his breathing. Now Urokodaki begins sparring with him using wooden swords. Every time Tanjiro attacks, Urokodaki blocks it with ease. Every time Tanjiro charges forward, he gets knocked down. Tanjiro becomes frustrated. No matter how hard he trains, he still feels far behind. There are many nights when he sits alone, looking toward Nezuko sleeping nearby, and whispers to himself, "I have to become stronger." Time keeps passing. The seasons change. Snow begins to fall. Cold winds tear through the forest. Still, Tanjiro never stops training. Blisters cover his hands. Scars begin marking his body. But his eyes now carry more determination than ever before. And then one day, Urokodaki gives him a new challenge. He takes Tanjiro deep into the forest, where a gigantic boulder sits in silence. It is so huge that the moment Tanjiro sees it, he understands one thing. This is impossible. In a calm voice, Urokodaki says, "If you can cut this rock in half, only then are you worthy of final selection." Tanjiro is stunned. How can any human cut a boulder this massive? But he has no time to question it. He pulls out a real sword now and begins trying. First strike, nothing. Second strike, nothing. Third strike, still nothing. Days pass. The sun rises. The sun sets. And Tanjiro keeps striking the boulder with all his strength. But all he leaves behind are tiny scratches. His confidence starts breaking apart. Maybe I will never become a demon slayer. And in the middle of that despair, one day, he sees two mysterious children. A boy and a girl. Both strangely calm. The boy challenges Tanjiro with a wooden sword. Tanjiro attacks and loses. He attacks again and loses again. Every single time, he loses. But after every defeat, the boy points out his mistakes. Your breathing is wrong. Your stance is weak. Your timing is slow. Meanwhile, the girl teaches him rhythm, patience, and control. Tanjiro cannot understand who these two children really are. But because of them, his skill slowly begins to change. Now, before every strike, he controls his breathing. He feels the pressure in his feet. He focuses on the exact direction of his blade. Little by little, his confidence begins returning. Now he no longer sees the boulder as a rock. He sees it as the wall of his own weakness. And he knows, if this wall breaks, he will be reborn. Then finally, that day arrives. Cold morning wind moves through the trees. Tanjiro stands silently before the boulder. His eyes close. He takes one deep breath. Total concentration, breathing. His entire body becomes steady. The sword is gripped firmly in both hands. Images of his family flash through his mind. Nezuko's face appears before him. And in the very next second, Tanjiro opens his eyes. He rushes forward with lightning speed and swings with every ounce of strength he has. For 1 second, everything becomes silent. Then, crash. The massive boulder splits cleanly into two pieces. Tanjiro stands there frozen. His breathing is heavy. His body is shaking. But for the first time, there is peace in his eyes. Because he did not just cut a rock. He cut through his own weakness. Urokodaki watches from a distance, and a faint smile appears on his face. Now he knows. This boy is ready. Episode 3 shows us one simple truth. Real strength is never built in one day. It is earned through pain, patience, falling down, and getting back up again and again. Tanjiro is still not the strongest, but he is no longer that frightened little boy from before. Now, a warrior has been born inside him, and that warrior will one day challenge the entire demon world.